So as many of you guys know, I had the pleasure of constructing my first hardline water cooled system inside the Thermaltake Core P90, and today we're going to be taking a look at the chassis itself and whether or not you should build in it. Now, as I've mentioned in a separate video, the Core P90 is not your typical PC case, and rather it's more of a showpiece to flaunt your build and water cooling skills. A custom loop is definitely encouraged if you want to make the best use of space and really construct something interesting, because there's plenty of space and the possibilities are virtually endless. If you haven't seen the build videos yet, you can check those out in the top right hand corner, and pricing is sitting right around $179 for the chassis itself, and I believe that's pretty fair considering that the Thermaltake Core P5 is just $30 less at $149, and I believe here you are getting a lot more for your money. I love that Thermaltake have stepped away from their usual flat, wall-mountable design that we know of, like in the P1, P3 and P5, and do something completely different here. The Core P90 stands tall at 615mm and spans 470mm in both directions, amounting to 135 litres of volume. Your build will be split across two sides of the triangular design, with your motherboard, power supply and graphics card mounted on the left, and all of your water cooling components on the right, including support for up to a 480mm radiator and an included bracket for a pump and reservoir. The tempered glass side panels mount nicely to the metal beams that extrude out from the base, and this is mounted via a foam padded thumb screw, and the panels are tinted very lightly, which does help tone down some of that RGB and give the case a more elegant look. Now we're also getting two small stands at the front of the case which prevent the case from tipping forward, which do their job nicely and look discreet while doing so, but the main case feet do not flow with the rest of the design. With the Core P90 looking sharp, angular and elegant, these case feet are not complementing the design in any way, as they look a little bit oversized and obnoxious in my opinion. Once you've actually built inside the case though, it's actually something that you can see past, and if you don't like the vertical orientation of the Core P90, you also have the option to lay it horizontally with the included case feet. The potential to have the Core P90 as a test bench is definitely there when laying horizontally, with your main components on one side and your cooling hardware on the other. And again, it does bring a very interesting design to the table and nothing that I've personally seen previously. You can also wall mount the Core P90 if you're feeling brave, because this thing is quite heavy, but for me I think I'll stick to a vertical position for the rest of this review. You've got everything you need to vertically mount your graphics card as well with this sturdy bracket, and this includes 7 expansion slots, and the PCI Express slot riser cable is also included, which is definitely appreciated. The vertical orientation is definitely encouraged with the Core P90, as it really gives you a chance to show off that GPU water block. And something that I added in to make this tubing run a little bit more user friendly is this 3D printed tube holder that sits behind the graphics card to give a little bit more extra support to the tubing, as it will sag a little if you're going to run this way. I/O is accessible on the top, where we've got a power and reset button, mic and headphone jack, and two USB 2.0 and 3.0 ports. Now, airflow is going to be pretty ample in a case like this, and you're not going to have to run any high-speed fans or anything like that, but one thing that you guys were actually a little bit concerned about was the dust building up on your hardware, seeing as this is an open case. And so I've had the build sitting on top of my desk for the past 2 weeks, and I've been using it every single day, and it also sits right underneath the air conditioning vent, which I also run quite a bit as well. So if there's going to be any dust collecting in my apartment, it's going to be right here on top of this case, and to no surprise, that's pretty much what we're getting. The main area where dust seems to be a problem is on top of the hardline tubing itself, but that can easily be wiped down with a microfiber cloth or sprayed with some compressed air. However, luckily the components that are actually laying vertically, like the motherboard, graphics card and radiator, don't seem to be collecting dust in any significant way. If you are going to be using the Core P90 in its horizontal orientation though, this is where I could see dust being an issue, so if you are going to use it like that, then just keep that in mind. Now for radiators, we have support for up to 480mm, which is pretty massive, and the 360 rad that I was using seems to be cooling my system just fine. But something that I would have liked to see in the Core P90, and what I think would have taken it to that next level, would be support for 2 separate radiators side by side on the right side of the case. I feel like a case of this stature should really have that sort of compatibility in mind, and would really give those users with Threadripper or Core i9 systems a really effective cooling solution as well. Not only that, but it would look epic AF. Alternatively, if you're not mounting a radiator here, you could also mount additional 2.5 or 3.5 inch drives, but I don't think many of you will be doing that. To the right of the radiator, we have the option to mount 3 2.5 inch drives, but personally, I prefer to store them inside the chamber, which you can access by removing these thumb screws on the rear panel. Here you've got the option for 2 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch drives on these brackets here, but in all honesty, you've got enough space to store about 1,000 drives in here if you don't mind them floating around, but most of the space in here will be used for routing your cables. And so my experience with the Core P90 has been overall pretty positive, and I'm a big fan of the unique design approach that Thermaltake have adopted here. I think additional radiator support would take the Core P90 to a whole other level though, but let me know what you guys think of that in the comment section below. Ultimately, the Core P90 is for those who want to show off their system and build something unique and different to your typical mid-tower system, and it's a cool change from the flat open chassis design that we've seen in the rest of their P series. It also has the potential to be used as a test bench chassis in its horizontal orientation, and this might be something that I will try in the near future. As always guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you embrace this unique direction that Thermaltake have chosen for the P90, or would you stick with something like the P3 or P5 for your open chassis setup? I'll have prices linked in the description if you want to check those out. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.